Good evening, televiewers. Welcome to another edition of Prime Hour on My Media Prime. We are glad to know that many of you have been expecting us before your TV screens across the nation. Today, essentially, we are going to be looking at an effort that took place out here in Douala, Cameroon's economic capital, organized by REDAC alongside other civil society organizations. They were looking for ways to promote inter-community dialogue as a means to foster peace in the trouble-stricken Cameroon across all the 10 regions. They brought together people, civil society activists, they brought together traditional rulers, political party leaders in Douala to try to seek for a framework, a roadmap to lasting peace in Cameroon. We are going to be discussing this with some of our panelists who are already in the house, while we await others who should be on their way to the studio. Kikishi Kenneth is from the civil society. He's been a panelist on a different platform. He's taking part with us for the very first time today. All the way from Boya, good evening and welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Leonard. Fellow panelists, you are highly welcome. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be on this platform today. For the first time, I am happy, and I know the thousands of my Prime TV, Prime Hour, watching us out there will not be disappointed with our discussions today.
Yeah,
to you all.
They're watching us across all the 10 regions of the country. Equally in the program with us is Walang Abang. He is the director of the Mahatma Institute of Leadership. He's equally a political analyst. Good evening, Walang. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Bean. It's always a pleasure to be on your platform, and I think that millions of viewers are out there glued to their TV. I want to thank them also, and my co-panelists who are powerful people. I hope we're going to live up to the task of the viewers out there. I also want to seize the opportunity to thank Mrs. Bean, who is watching us directly, and all other viewers out there. Thanks for inviting me.
La Panamama, Lasha is equally in the house. He is an educationist. Good evening and welcome.
Thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity, being here again. It's my pleasure, and I say we are here still on the same issue, and then I hope, as I usually say, on this table, the solution to the Anglophone problem has been tabled. So it's just for the government or for the power being to select. So we are here today to give another suggestion, another proposal, and we are saying welcome to all the viewers and everybody here.
Okay, Salomon Bias is going to be joining us in the course of the program, equally as the Secretary General of the Mogdegna Party, Tamfu Jones, who is on his way to the studios to join us and discuss on our topic for tonight. Wala Abang, they're talking about inter-community dialogue. Is that where dialogue should start? That is at the level of the communities that constitute the basic fabric of our nation?
Well, let me disappoint you a little with some of the viewers out there who think that dialogue should start with the community, the communities. It is true that there is little bit of there is always this little bit of tension between different communities, but I want to make it clear, abundantly clear that the tensions that exist between communities is something that has been designed, by the powers that be. There is this policy of divide and rule that started during the days of colonialism in French colonial Africa, and this legacy, they have handed it brilliantly, to the powers that took over, from these colonialists, and they have used it to rule over the people in a very high-handed manner. So it is not the fault of the people that they don't understand, that they don't, there isn't some sort of understanding amongst the communities. It is a very well-planned, designed, and executed strategy of the government, so that the people will be subdued it is to them, it is the best way to, you know, subdue the people, because they think that if there is understanding amongst communities, then these communities will be able to form a force that will stand them. Because
is that not reason enough for the communities to unmask this plan designed by the government to put them at loggerheads and see reason for them to come together so as to beat the scheme of the government?
I'm afraid the communities already know that.
Okay.
They know that, but you know, they are a little powerless. When you start imagining people like Mafani Musonge, who goes to Boya, I mean, these are real facts, who goes to Boya and tells the Bakure man that it is the Bajili man, the Grafi man, who is an enemy in the land. Then you begin to see how, you know, powerfully implanted those ideas, those strategies, you know, are, and how they are working, because they know that to solve a problem, you divide people so that the people now, when they are against each other.
But I don't know whether there was an instance where former Prime Minister Peter Mafani Musonge used those words. I don't know under what circumstance.
During the Anglophone crisis, you know, the beginning of the Anglophone crisis, when people were agitating.
Prime I would not want to take responsibility for that.
During that period, I remember that even the
there was a meeting. There was a meeting in
where
many people said certain things.
The so-called elites, you know, came together, and it was reported that in that meeting.
So you think the dialogue should not start at the level of communities?
I think that, you know, in leadership, there's something they say that when the leadership is right, the people will follow at all costs. You know, it is important to point out to Cameroonians that it's not a problem between Cameroonians. The Bamileke man has never had a problem with the Anglophone man. It is, you know, these are seeds that have been implanted, you know, gradually to create an impression that there is something wrong within the level of the communities. Before the, you know, the 2018 elections, Cameroonians have been living very well without any tension. Where on this earth did this issue of Bamileke versus the Ewondos begin? You understand? We know TV stations whose name we don't want to call here that started preaching hate speech and clearly demarcating this divide between the Bamilekes and the Ewondos. And these the promoters of these television stations are highly placed. They have high connections within the confines of the government. It is no secret. So if you tell me it trickles from up to down, it's not from down to up. It is not a community that will get on one day and make abracadabra, you know, for some kind of understanding to take place in Cameroon. I think it is the responsibility of the government. The government should stop dividing Cameroonians. They are doing it, you know, highly planned strategies to make sure that, you know, to better rule these people of Cameroon, the people should be divided. And I'm afraid it is going to be disastrous. Yeah. It's not going to construct Cameroon. It might guarantee the leadership for a period of time, say 10 years. But after that, what about the legacy they will leave? Perhaps it's going to end in, you know, some kind of a cataclysmic war that will consume Cameroon. So I am saying that it is from up to down and not from down to up. Okay. Leadership is by example, not by decree.
Now, we are talking about intercommunity dialogue. Kikishi, Kenneth, can communities dialogue clearly without understanding where the stereotypes are coming from, not actually dissecting them, taking them out of their respective communities? For example, they will describe a Changman as a dirty man. If Salcom Lupo in Budama is dirty, they will say an Unduman is a Chopbrook pot. You see, can there be effective dialogue without understanding the root causes or the origins of these stereotypes that communities are attacked with?
First of all, I want to say that the organizers of the workshop or
the dialogue forum,
if I were there, I would have asked their definition of community. Community might have a lot of variables. Even a family is a community. And so I don't particularly know which community they were targeting. But I want to say that for any macro solution to a problem to come about, there must be micro solutions. And micro solutions start with communities. And if a family is defined as a small community, then we are thinking that these people are talking about starting it at very small factions of a society, that they are talking about a family trying to reunite There are uncles that in the course of the Anglophone crisis, we have seen sons and daughters of a father killing themselves. In the early 90s, when we saw the advent of multipartism, we saw people kill their wives because they were joining other political parties. And so the grudges that we have moved on from, you know, with differences in political ideologies came in to reflect in the present conflict and the Anglophone crisis. And so there's a lot of settlement of scores even within the family. Now, in the case where the community would have been defined like a tribe, okay. Now, if you look, for instance, every tribe has had, you know, its own share in this crisis. You go within each tribe. Let me take, for instance, I'm from Banso, and you know what the fund of Banso went through, and other traditional rulers. And so, if they are talking about inter-community dialogue, I think that they read my mind somewhere, because I was actually talking with one of our notables some months, about a month or so, and I was telling him that the first thing that I think, without expecting that this crisis should be over, we should start community dialogue to see that we restore the cultural identities, the cultural, values that the crisis have. So I was not thinking about maybe inter-community pay, Banso versus Basa, or Banso versus Bayangi or Bakweri, but I was thinking that each of those communities needed to bring its sons and daughters to the table,
reconcile
to reconcile them.
Yeah?
Then it will be now easy for us to come as a group. We know our sons, our brothers and sisters at the diaspora. We know the role they are playing. And so if we decide to handle it from community angles, that's very micro angles, then before we come now to a holistic approach, which is bringing the integrity of the whole society together, I think it will be easier. Now, the stereotypes. The stereotypes have been, used by a lot of comedians to make us happy, to bring fun time. When you want to see, you want to marry Bakwerum and prepare. Those are animating, entertaining stereotypes. But now the politicians, in order to have the hand over the masses, have used their own stereotypes, which have been very dangerous. And the dangers of the political stereotypes has caused us, led us into this crisis, or are having a greater ramification into the crisis. Now, if I want to say the hate speech, when you say the Sadina, or the anti-Sadina, Tontina, that is now brought in by politicians to carve out and to, remember the minister delegate of justice, also keep out this Jean who talked about the Holocaust and on a program, and Israel had to ask for apologies from the Cameroon government. Those are the kind of words that my fellow panelists, who is from the Leadership Academy, hate speech, divide kind of language that politicians use, but it has affected us to a great extent. To you even find the military. I remember coming from Bamenda, and then in a public vehicle, they stopped us at Meselele and asked our ID cards, and where are you guys coming from? Bamenda. Say, okay, those Amber boys, Amber, you people are Amber, where are you going? Then we stopped in my 14, and one military controlled the car. Everybody had an ID. They asked two guys a question. Where are you going to? Where are you guys going to? Say, Boya. What are you going to do? They said, we're going to walk. Say, calm down. It took us 45 minutes there. And so, the angle from where, all the military guys have godfathers in politics. Yeah, and their godfathers have not been, the hate speech, or the hate speech, which comes in form of stereotypes, nobody has been punished for that, and so it has helped to put more fire in, or more flames in the crisis that we have now.
Okay, Lasha Tasha Lapana, yeah. Do you also think that people are doing whatever they're doing, trying to divide communities along tribal, regional lines because of ignorance of the dispositions of the Constitution that clearly states that every Cameroonian is supposed to feel at home wherever they find themselves, because we see more and more people being insulted either by the indigenes of a particular locality, thereby increasing the divide or the gap amongst communities?
Yes, to me, when that incident came up, because I call it an incident, I just look at it to be a
no, it's not.
system
It's not a single incident.
Yeah.
We've seen it repeatedly over the decades. Yeah.
Yeah, that is what I'm saying. It is a rule in history that I talk about. He already talked about the divine and rule system that was introduced by the British. And then this has been inherited by the Cameroon government. And then they are using it because all those things that are coming up today is just because of they want to divert the minds of the Anglophones into now bringing other problems all over the nation.
Yeah, but communities, please. We shouldn't limit our discussions on the Anglophone crisis.
Yeah,
we have the communities in the north. We have communities in the east of Cameroon. So we shouldn't really limit our discussions to the Anglophones.
Yeah, because they talk of the intercommunity dialogue is all about they want to solve the problem of Anglophones.
Alongside the
alongside the Boko Haram, alongside other issue.
Yeah.
The issue here is coming together is a good issue in order to stand. But what is the reason of them coming together? Because the purpose of it, they have to say they want to come together in order to solve the problems in the nation. That is good. But as he's rightly said, that it has to start from the top. If from the top there is unity, if from the top there is a dialogue within them, that, okay, you look at this person, you are not looking at this person like it is coming from this other area, it is coming from this other area, then they will solve a lot of problems. In April 2018, I came up with a proposal in which I gave to many people, and I even went to some radio station and then talk about it there. About us Cameroonian, it is not because maybe there is a problem between a community A and B. There is a problem between Cameroonians. Cameroonians are not living happily, and then many people are aware of it. I came up with a proposal that if Cameroonian, trustworthy Cameroonian, because when they talk of intercommunity dialogue, you discover that they are the one to choose some group of people, and then many people that will be choosing might not be those that the community trusts them. And then I came up with a proposal that if they can select, if Cameroonians can choose themselves because they know themselves, even as a priest or as who, like those who I gave the letter to them, they can say, okay, I know this person, I know this person, I know this person. They join themselves together, trustworthy Cameroonian, competent Cameroonian, those who have the feeling for Cameroonian. But if we are talking about intercommunity dialogue in which we are taking the same people that we have been seeing, the same people that have been destroying our nation and then putting a hate, that is where I have some problems with.
That is where you have a problem. Walang Abang, when we see this powerful, spontaneous outing of most indigenous communities against what they describe as the overwhelming pressure of settling communities, take the case for the communities of the West region who are described in most parts of Cameroon as settlers. You have the communities of from the Northwest region and other parts who are very moving people. Can we also attribute that to the ignorance of understanding what the Constitution says about the rights of indigents or minorities, and that maybe it is because their rights are actually trampled upon that in responding they go at times violent?
Mr. Bean, I grew up in Cameroon at a time when there was a president called Amadou Ahidjo.
You grew up in the days of Ahidjo?
I grew up in the days. Ahidjo left power when I was 6 years old.
Okay, but you are
Yes.
still a child.
No, I got to know about him, and we read a little bit of history, the history of Cameroon, and I have discovered that during the reign of President Amadou Ahidjo, there were hardly these tensions between communities because Ahidjo did not decree community come together. At that time, the administration was living by good examples where people were called upon to feel free wherever they went. I don't know, maybe it was because Ahidjo was not a Democrat and, he could use the barrel of the gun to subdue people. But I think that he had good intentions as far as bringing Cameroonians together, was concerned. But there came a time when gradually this item of division, of identifying other communities as enemies or as settlers, started coming into. I remember when the people in Boya, the Bakure people in Boya, you know, were instigated by politicians to start calling Northwesterners as settlers. I remember the come no go. You understand? That was a political move. Please do not get me wrong. I mean, I'm just talking to the viewers out there. I am not blaming. You know, I'm putting a finger where the problem lies. That if it is not solved at that level, then we will not get out of that problem. The communities within themselves have not had, you know, serious problems. But we are gradually building that. And I think that it is a political effort that is building that spirit of division, you know, of one community identifying another community as an opponent instead of identifying them as, you know, partners, you know, that can be used to build Cameroon. Because you cannot overlook the amount of investment and development that people like the Bamileke people have brought to Douala or Yaoundé. You cannot overlook the amount of development that the Ewundo people or other communities, let's go by tribe, you know, have brought in the West region. They are there. They are everywhere in Cameroon. And they have a role that they are playing. And that role is primordial for the development of those places where they are staying. But we discover that gradually this issue of community difference has been, you know, is becoming powerful. We are identifying people now according to their communities, according to tribes, according to, you know, historical and cultural backgrounds. You are an Anglophone and you are a Francophone. We have started identifying that. Listen to what Mr. Kiki, she said a while ago, that they traveled on the bus and military officers who are supposed to be Republican, who are supposed to recognize the value of every Cameroonian, are pointing at people and saying they are Ambazonians. You know, such things, I think that it is, I will insist, it is coming. People can make, communities can make all the effort they want. The government has the apparatus, the military, the financial wherewithal, you know, to divide the people and rule them so that they can maintain themselves in power for as long as possible. That is my take, and I think that it is correct for the viewers to judge.
Okay, that is your take. Just to say greetings to you, Ndifo Ferdinand. He's one of our panelists who says that he's watching us live from Bamenda. Good evening to you. We thank God you had a safe trip to Bamenda Northwest Regional Capital. He says that a great start to you, Walang. Kekishi Kenneth, can we, if they say we should start at the level of community dialogue, is it to affirm the fact that the country is completely divided, fragmented, according to tribal regional lines today? Because when we look at the presidential elections, like he said, there was a clear divide where people who supported Cabral Libi, Selebasa, come to the Bamileke, the people in the center region would tell the people who come to that.
It is no news that we are divided on tribal lines. All democracies in Africa are divided on tribal lines.
Okay.
Whether you take it to Nigeria or you go to Egypt or wherever, the African governance or democratic governance is based on tribal lines. If you look at those rulers who rule Africa, you will always see that there's always a kind of power sharing is done based on the origin of the ruler, because the support he has comes from, first of all, from his indigenes. And so that is the way African democracy has been structured. If you go to judge by even the colonial period, when the white men came to colonize Africa, they used but our traditional rulers to conquer their kinsmen. And so it goes without saying that it is the structure of African governance, democratic governance. It goes, but the problem is when it is negative. The problem is when it is negative, so negative that the potentials of other tribes are not taken into consideration because of the fact that somebody or a tribe that is in power thinks that if they should do everything by themselves, that's when there's a problem, and that's where the problem is in Cameroon. We would not, if communities are today being solicited as the basis for our dialogue, a new form of dialogue, because we have had several other platforms or other groups of ideologies coming about dialogue, you know, holistic dialogue, whatever that kind of dialogue. This time we are talking about community dialogue. I want to say that without having a very critical mindset about what has obtained before, where we had the Kamnogo kind of stereotypes or the, you know, other funny kind of things that describe it. I want to think that the organizers of this intercommunity dialogue, they have something in mind. They have the fact that the government, the elite, the political elite have been very negative. They have actually used the divide and rule mechanism by trying to pinpoint communities, blacken some communities, and, you know, as the black legs or as those who have jeopardized our unity. And as such, there need to be some reconciliation, some form of reconciliation, and to differ with the political elite. Because the political elite is basically, they are those that are the origin of this divide and rule, the Machiavellian theory, where they have to govern at all costs, they have to tell their own sons. Imagine the CPDM conference in Bafusam, in the Western region, some weeks back. What do you take out of a country that is talking dialogue, and you see the pains come to as you know, the black leg, and tell people that they are not taking side with him?
Yeah,
no, so within even communities, the people are dividing that they should not follow this other person, this other son of this soil is not even supposed to be followed. You know, so the political elite has done a lot of bad to this country, and we need people actually. We need to cleanse the land. And to cleanse the land, we need to, you know, the communities need to come together to consolidate, to reconsider their stance, to apologize within the setup. I think that the political elite are going to benefit from this entire community dialogue, because it gives them the opportunity to come and actually table apologies for their wrongs, for the kind of blackmailing they have painted against other members of their communities or other members of the opposite communities. I hate sometimes when the symposium of the multiculturalism community held in Yaoundé, somebody said that they are going to learn Vivre Ensemble in school, and I was like, wow, these people, these politicians in Cameroon have they're already at the verge, those are signs of end time. Because the multiculturalism community that was even supposed to promote intercommunity dialogue, they think that they have to teach us Vivre Ensemble in school. I think that I have grown up with Francophones. I have not lived in Banso. I've lived in Yaoundé almost all of my life. And nobody taught us how to live with our neighbors. But because politicians came and jeopardized the living together by not actually putting clauses in the constitution that will respect minorities, by not actually defining the boundaries of, you know, that if you do this excess or bringing punitive sanctions to those who have actually come out with words like Kamnogos, they were supposed to be punished. Imagine in the onset of this crisis, somebody said that a parliamentarian made it in the National Assembly very clear that he talked to a certain minister 10 years ago about Anglophone. He brought a certain issue on the table, and the minister asked him that Anglophones are who? 2 cubes of sugar dissolved in a basin of water. And that minister is still in power today. And then you are talking about communities that are in disarray. When the promoters of those who have been violating the rights of minority were supposed to be punished directly. I think that that minister will, in the days ahead, stand on the rostrum, because I think that this community should go on with truth and reconciliation.
Yeah, we are going
so
to-
that people will have to come and
we-
confess their sins and then ask for forgiveness of sins. And then a person that makes such a declaration is still in power today. And you are talking about dialogue in the country. Like I think those are things that shows that the government is not ready for dialogue. Because there are hypocrites in the system who will talk dialogue on the table, but in their hearts they are bearing grudges against.
This effort, I'm sure, has nothing to do with the government. This is a proposal that came from the civil society. Redac is behind this.
But it happens that
it is, maybe it's because they have noticed that the government is going the way you are describing. That
No,
they think
like my colleague said here, the disparity with our system is coming from the elites who are mostly politicians.
Kikishi, I know you are coming from Boya where they talk a lot. let Lapana Mama also talk. Do you have the impression that Cameroonians are clearly divided along tribal and regional lines, where communities no longer feel for others? For example, if something has to do with the Yaoundé people, because I'm from the littoral region, I say it is their issue. Something is happening to the people in the northwest and southwest region. We've not seen people of the east region coming out en masse to say we want to be share in the plight of these people, like what the Southwest Northwest Women Task Force, we saw them come out. It was also believed that, okay, the mothers of the central region are going to come out, those of the littoral are going to come out. Do you have the feeling that what concerns the people of the West region is their problem?
Yeah, as first, Cameroon was not living like that. Cameroonians were not living like that. It's just because everything in Cameroon has been changed, and then Cameroonians are ruled under a political will in such a way that every decision taken is based on politics. And then that is where Cameroon, all those divine and rule or policies is coming in, because politicians are using it for their own advantage. Because I quite remember that I'm seeing it clearly that that the feeling is no more there. Because when the Boko Haram started, all Cameroonians, even in the villages, contributed to support the victims of the Boko Haram. But since the Anglophone started, the crisis started up to today, I've not seen, I just heard the government talk about they have given 12 billion to support the suffering Anglophone, the IDP, those in Nigerians. And then I've not seen that kind of feeling, that kind of unity when the Boko Haram was troubling in the northern part of Cameroon. So I have came to discover that that is another strategy that is coming in, that politicians are about using it, in which it is not good. But politics is a game to better the life of the citizen. It's not a forum to destroy the citizen. Because now I came here the other time I talk about there is no politician again in Cameroon. Because all what they are doing is for their interest. Because when you look at them, A will not stand and say, I'm going to do this, and stand on the point. A will be talking about, A came here and promised you people this one. No, I'm going to do it this one. You know these people cannot do it this way. And then keep on putting...
So there are no politicians in Cameroon. How do you describe them?
I just describe them as a group of people that they need maybe money, a position. Those are the things that they need, power. And then because I'm not seeing, apart from the Social Democratic Front, I have not seen anybody that is standing for the people. Because if you are for the people, then you have to ask, there are certain questions you have to ask. Because we are in a country, and then this is an issue happening. How many politicians are standing on to say, okay, Anglophone, they are suffering. What are we going to do for them? Okay. What are we going to do? There are parliamentarians of different political parties. But we are hearing only the Social Democratic Front is standing up every day in the National Assembly, crying and asking for the Anglophone problem to be tabled. And then none other political party. Meaning they are struggling to just divide the country. And then that is, if all the problems we are facing today in Cameroon, I will blame the politicians. Okay, the numerous politicians, because we have more than 200 political parties.
You are a member of the civil society. I hope you also bear part of the blame, eh? The civil society is not better itself.
Yeah, it's not better, but we are just there. Because, take for example, I have light in my house, and then because I have a meter, I have to pay the bills of those who are stealing light. Because if you look at what is happening in Douala, those who are having meters, they are paying a lot. and then people are stealing lights within, and then they have seen nobody is. So in Cameroon now, you as a Cameroonian, you have to go into it, because you will not keep on paying bills. Maybe you have just
Okay,
3 months.
you start stealing
You
because
involve
everybody's
yourself in some certain issue, and that is why we say living here in Cameroon is just by the grace of God. If God is not within you, every Cameroonian will mind go to hellfire because of the kind of issues that are happening. Because many people believe that there are some little sin that maybe God will forgive. God will not forgive any. Because if you are the sinner, you are the sinner.
Good evening to you all. My best school is Enyet where? Enyet Kumba. I'm Etwe Henry, watching from Kumba. Hello, I love your program, and I wish you guys the best. I am Chief Afu Profits, and my best school is GSS Bechati. Okay, good evening. The government itself talk about dialogue. Where is the dialogue? They now preach, but back to school. They should forget about back to school. If there is no dialogue, Daniel, writing from Kumba. Jua Desmond from Bamenda. Good evening to you guys in the studio. My best school is GHS downtown Bamenda. Thank you, Desmond. Gentle, writing from Boya, says, hello, Leo. The Yaoundé regime has long been using divide and rule to weaken the Anglophones. Intercommunity differences is on the rise in Cameroon, and it seems it is instigated by politicians for their own gains. Who is behind the Mbororo's clashes and other communities in the Northwest? Okay, Gentle, good evening to you. Glad to know that you are watching us from the City of Excellence. Good evening to you all in the studio. I would like to state it clear that the Anglophone crisis did not erupt as a result of community differences, but of marginalization and of all sorts. To look it at the national level, I'm forced to ask if Boko Haram infighting is as a result of communities' differences. My dear panelists, so to solve the problem in Cameroon is by changing all members in the executive arm of government and removing top officials in legislative arm and totally dissolving the National Assembly. If such is not done, Cameroon will be great. Cameroon will be great again. I'm Bro Roma, writing from Kumba. My name is Iwane Leo from Boya. My best school is GBHS Tombel. Mr. Ndechua is strong disciplinarian. There he needs a medal. Okay, we are glad to know that you are celebrating your teachers. Good evening to you all. My best school is the Moda Technical High School, GTHS Ombe. It's just that government has forgotten about GTHS Ombe. It's Princely Asong, writing from Muteng, and I really love the program. You people should keep up, and thanks Walang Abang, the organizers of this forum. The note, let me read it, you are going to react. They say there is a general withdrawal of identity and hate speech. That is, people identify themselves in communities. Hate speech both on social networks and on television and radio sets. This leaves any observer aware that Cameroon is living in a latent conflict that can degenerate into chaos if nothing is done quickly.
Yes, I want to state here that I know the promoter of Redact, the promoters. You know, I don't know her personally, but I've been watching her on TV. Madame Ngo Mbe, who is the main promoter, with Barrister Alice Nkom, who is also a member of that Redact. And I want to state clearly that they are vehemently against the policies of the Cameroonian government, as it were now. And they have declared, you know, in the past that the only way to liberate Cameroon and, you know, to bring some sort of goodwill is for Cameroonians to rise and send those people. These are not my words, these are their words. You know, it was on TV, very clear for everybody to watch. It was for Cameroonians to rise. We remember that Metro Aliscom also held a meeting, you know, organized a meeting in Germany where many Cameroonians were invited and people across the board to come and discuss on ways to, you know, get this power in transition. So, yes, the hate speech is there. The Redact, this thing group, is very correct. There is a kind of consistent growth, even though it is trickling, but we cannot overlook the power of this consistency, of the growth of division, hate speech in Cameroon. That they did not mention there. I don't know why. That has been orchestrated. I still maintain my words. That has been orchestrated by the powers that be for their own selfish reason.
Okay, we are moving straight away into the newsroom to find out what stories have made headlines across the nation this day.
Being one of more than 200 majors of HIPMAT, I am proud of my success. It all began at HIPMAT.
I am a CEO. I coach and lead a team of salespeople. I don't hesitate to tell them the vision was planted and molded by HIPMAT.
Today, I stand on a pedestal of experienced and committed lecturers. The foundation was laid by HIPMAT.
For over a decade, HIPMAT's credibility and ministerial recognition have trained more than 15,000 professionals in business management and engineering from HND to BTech, MBA, and what have you. With an outstanding partnership with the University of Bamenda for BTech and MBA programs, our undoubted commitment to your show's success is a reflection of the future you painted. The Higher Institute of Business Management and Technology, HIPMAT, a university for professionals.
De l'inédit au Cameroun, le tout premier collège canadien ouvre ses portes dès septembre 2019. Performance Education Center, en partenariat avec les grandes écoles canadiennes, offre aux élèves du second cycle un cadre prestigieux, calme et propice pour des études avec des enseignants chevronnés canadiens et camerounais. À Performance Education Center, obtenez le baccalauréat canadien, vous ouvrant automatiquement les portes des plus grandes universités canadiennes et du monde via les bourses d'études garanties. Performance Education Center propose également des programmes de formation bilingue de 2 ans permettant d'obtenir un permis de travail au Canada après obtention d'une attestation d'études collégiales du Québec équivalent du BTS sous l'assistance de Performance Immigration Canada. Performance Education Center est situé à Locbessou, derrière Antenne CRTV, 10e avenue. Performance Education Center, visa vers le Canada et le monde.
Good evening and welcome to the 7:45 Prime News on My Media Prime. My name is Genda Pelgin Blanche King, and on our headlines, 17 Chinese and Ukrainian seamen have been abducted off the coast of Cameroon by armed men. The Presbyterian Teachers Trade Union have held a broad-based executive meeting in Bamenda to brainstorm on their plights and discuss issues on effective school resumption. Those were our headlines, and now the news in full. Catholic Christians in the northwest regions have joined their peers worldwide to celebrate the Feast of Assumption, a day they believe Mary, the mother of Jesus Christ, went to heaven body and soul. To commemorate the sacred feast, yesterday His Grace Cornelius Fontemeswa of the Bamenda Metropolitan Cathedral called on Christians to follow the step of the Holy Mother Mary, as Charles Keboa tells us more in the following report.
Catholic Christians in the Northwest joined their peer counterpart nationwide and the world to commemorate the Feast of Assumption. It is a doctrinal matter in the worship life of the Catholic Church, the feast day of the Assumption of the Virgin Mary to heaven, body and soul. The celebration at the St. Joseph Metropolitan Cathedral in Bamenda in a pontifical mass officiated by His Grace Cornelius Fontemeswa in his message said, Mary is arisen. She has risen up to heaven, body and soul, but her love for the early children continues.
Assumption is the feast of hope for all of us. It's a feast when we celebrate and we thank God for His grace, the grace that helps us live our lives well. And today we think of the first human being, the mother of Jesus Christ, Blessed Virgin Mary, who, because she listened to the word of God, lived the word of God, she avoided sin, and when she died, she was taken up to heaven, body and soul.
Christians were urged to be exemplary in order to find a place in heaven like the Virgin Mary. Celebrations was characterized with the dedication of new members into the Catholic Women Association, celebration of the 7th anniversary of Radio Evangelium, remembering with nostalgia the first voice that went on air 7 years back.
Because as I was the first voice of the first initiation of Radio Evangelium, I would say first Radio Evangelium is to proclaim the good news. That is the meaning of Radio Evangelium.
Easy at all, but it has been beautiful and enjoyable. We have had many challenges, especially with the coming of the crisis. The crisis multiplied our challenges, but we have never departed from our mission. We have never departed from our enthusiasm and our determination.
Dedication of Cadets of Mary, whose guiding principle is to follow the footsteps of their mother Mary, and the reception of the sacrament of First Holy Communion.
After decades of active service to music lovers, Ngea Laroute and Mate Zambo, Cameroonian musicians, are currently faced with serious health challenges. This duo, who graced Cameroon and some parts of the world with their music in the early 80s and 90s, are asking for financial support from Cameroonians of goodwill for their medical bills. Charles Elange visited them and now brings this report in the French language.
Depuis 72 heures après le décès tragique de l'artiste ivoirien DJ Arafat, qui défraie la chronique, le cas des maladies des artistes camerounaises Ngea Laroute et Marthe Zambo semble encore plus interpellateur. Comme une traînée de poudre, des publications et des cris de détresse des proches de ces artistes qui ont fait bouger les années 80 et 90 ont réussi à détourner une attention vers elles. Pour en avoir le cœur net, c'est ici au quartier Niala, dans le 3e arrondissement de la ville de Douala, sous cette pluie qu'on retrouvera le domicile de Marthe Zambo. La main sous la joue, désespérée, elle croule sous le poids d'une maladie qui la tracasse depuis une vingtaine d'années. Sur les murs de son domicile, ses victoires défilent, mais son petit corps d'athlète est immobile. Heureusement, la chanteuse, par ailleurs première ceinture noire féminine en shotokai, a encore la possibilité de répondre aux coups de fil des journalistes qui viennent à la source de l'information.
Didier, bonjour à tous les handicapistes. Bon, maman est là, et puis c'est même mieux, je crois que c'est pas moi qui t'ai parlé. Même si elle ne sent pas très bien, mais elle a quand même encore trouvé le courage, avec le soutien de ses enfants, de vous dire un petit mot. Je vous passe directement, maman, qu'on gagne en temps, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, bonjour. Ouais, je suis très malade. Et ça fait depuis longtemps que je demande de l'aide. Il n'y a aucune réaction. J'entends parler du ministère de la Culture. aucune réaction. Donc, je suis obligée de faire appel à des enfants, des collègues, des amis. Personne, depuis que je suis, ça fait peut-être 22 ans. Et que docteur Antoné a tout fait pour m'opérer 4 fois. Mais ça revient toujours. Là, je ne peux pas abuser de lui.
6 mois seulement après le décès de son fils Guichard, Marthe Zambo, sous le poids de la maladie, faute d'assistance, a l'oreille tendue, mais aussi la main pour un quelconque geste. Le cas est similaire de l'autre côté de la ville. Ici, nous sommes au 4e arrondissement, dans le quartier Ndobo, où réside depuis quelques années la chanteuse de 5G qui, à vue d'œil, semble déconnectée de sa vie de star. Maman Guéa aura tout perdu de son glamour qui faisait sa particularité. Le pas nonchalant, le regard affaibli, le soleil de décembre espère et veut encore briller.
Je suis Maman Guéa. Tout le temps, vous êtes toujours à faire l'église. Qu'est-ce qui te dérange? Qu'est-ce qui te dérange? Je vous annonce. Mais vous ne voulez pas seulement réagir. Alors, j'ai le diabète. Et j'ai l'évacuation. On m'a opéré 4 fois. Et sur les 4 fois, il faut encore opérer pour que la structure reste. Donc, il faut que j'aille me faire opérer au Maroc. Mon docteur me demande 6 millions en allant 10 millions. Donc, si je dis 6 millions en allant. Bon, la personne qui a besoin que Maman Guéa soit vivante n'a qu'à me donner aussi un coup de main. Bref, je parle aux âmes de bonne volonté.
Si le cas de la maladie de Nguéa la route émeut plus d'un, il serait nécessaire de remercier le ciel qui l'aura épargné d'un incendie survenu dans son domicile quelques jours après sa sortie de l'hôpital La Quintini. Des artistes obligés de lancer des alertes, des SOS, afin qu'on leur vienne en aide pour des cas des maladies. Au Cameroun est devenu une tradition qui déchaîne les passions. Si cela frise de la mendicité, cela devrait davantage sonner dans les oreilles des acteurs culturels et sociaux, voire interroger plus d'un sur la politique culturelle du Cameroun, mais plus encore, de connaître le statut réel de l'artiste au Cameroun.
Limbetu Council has adopted the management and municipal treasurer's accounts for the 2018 fiscal year. This was during their first ordinary session, which took place recently in Limbe. Kuma Honore reports.
Municipal councillors of the Limbetu Council recently held the first ordinary session dedicated for the examination and adoption of the management, municipal treasurer and storekeepers account for the 2018 financial year. Presiding over the session, the mayor of Limbetu, Mayor Duncan Molindo Adapo, congratulated municipal councillors for exhibiting a spirit of oneness and collaboration all through their mandate with barely 6 months to go. Going by the mayor's statistics, investment revenue stood at 176 million francs CFA, while the Limbetu Council spent more on investment in 2018 to the tune of 219,096,733 francs CFA as a result of excess revenue from decentralized credits to the sum of 186,813 francs CFA. Total revenue generated by the Limbetu Council stood at 399,278,719 francs CFA as compared to total expenditure, which stood at 355,188,665 francs CFA, indicating a 44,090,054 francs CFA carry forward to the 2019 financial year earmarked as overheads.
We worked on nearly all the roads in the villages. I don't call them villages again, because the place is growing faster than with a population of more than 25,000 people. We developed our market, we constructed lock-up stores, and we opened a new market, which is the largest market we have now in Limbetu, whereby we have people coming all the way from Limbe 1 to come, they attend our market. And again, after the market, We did a few other things. Nearly we constructed school buildings and we supplied benches to most of the schools, primary schools within the municipality.
The mayor also disclosed that the budget head for investment was used to realize several projects in the municipality, amongst which are the construction of a block of 2 classrooms at Government Nursery School Mukunda and the supply of benches and other equipments to the same nursery school. Construction of lock-up stores and hangars at the Sokolo New Market, throwing of seawall at the market and the resurfacing of roads in some quarters, rehabilitation and supply of equipment at the Women Empowerment Center Limbetu, and many more. The session took place under the watchful presence of the divisional officer of Limbetu, Dunga Emaran, who cautioned the mayor and his team to be practical in order to deserve the confidence of the population whom they were called to serve. The mayor equally used the opportunity to call on the population of Limbetu to send their children back to school come September 2nd, while emphasizing that education is.
The Presbyterian Teachers Trade Union have held a broad-based executive meeting in Bamenda to brainstorm on their plight and discuss about effective school resumption come 2019-2020 school year. Charles Kebwa is our Northwest correspondent with details of the story.
Enlarged meeting of the Presbyterian Teachers Trade Union Pier 2 held at the conference hall of the Regional Delegation of Labour and Social Insurance for the Northwest, August 14th, to brainstorm difficulties faced by Pier 2 teachers, especially compounded with the ongoing crisis rocking the Northwest and Southwest region eve of back to school, holding at a time school resumption might be true and not true in these 2 regions affected by the ongoing crisis. Pier 2 EXCO members evaluate vis-a-vis the living condition of Presbyterian teachers and school environments.
In some of the schools that are operating, some were given out to presbyteries, some to congregations, and those schools are not being taken care of as the case ought to have been. For instance, their monthly salaries paid out to them, their social insurance dues, as well as their taxes. So they too are in a fix. When they come back to PA has nothing to say to them, indicating that they should go back to the presbytery. The presbyteries too are not ready to take up their responsibilities. So these are some of the difficulties we have. And then for those schools that are functioning, we also have the problem of insecurity, whereby on some days we go to school, we are attacked on the way, some are taken hostage, and so on. We actually live in perpetual fear.
The enlarged EXCO meeting gave an opportunity for members to disclose and see the possibilities of their own preparation as teachers in the effect of an eventual school resumption, not only as teachers, but also as parents.
Since schools are supposed to reopen on the 2nd, what are we going to do to queue in the event of schools reopening? What I always make is an appeal, and the appeal is that the children have a right to be educated. In as much as there are attendant problems, we think that these problems can be handled while allowing the children to go to school, because other sectors are also functioning. Why should it be only the school sector that is held hostage, that until issues are handled before the school is allowed to function?
Given there had been a lot of problems surrounding the salaries of PEA teachers from basic education to secondary, with others resulting to Njangi groups and other sources to handle financial difficulties.
As a mother, you will love to see your own sibling excelling in education. And when you see them hovering around you where there is no education, so the thing worries us as parents. We have become beggars on the street. Some of our relatives are fed up with us because each and every time when somebody gets a ring from you, the person will start frowning that that person wants this or that from me again.
Hope the authorities do something to handle financial difficulties that seems to be a major hindrance as the teachers prepare back to school come September for the 2019-2020 school academic year.
The commissioner of the Marua Central Police Station has called on the population of the town to remain vigilant and report cases of bandits terrorizing the people. Bubakari Tairu made the remark while presenting bandits specialized in stealing motorcycles and other electronic gadgets. The police commissioner says the gang has branches in Chad and Central African Republic. The bandits were caught with instruments used to immediately dismantle stolen motorcycles. And back to the Southwest region, the population of Limbe in the Southwest region have answered present to a back-to-school awareness campaign led by the FACO Permanent Bureau for the Central Committee of the ruling CPDM party. And this campaign was chaired by the Vice President of the National Assembly, Honorable Emilia Monjoa Lifaka. Over 1,500 pupils and students received back-to-school materials as assistance for the start of the 2019-2020 school year. Details with Kuma Onore.
Recent statistics shows a drop in the number of children enrolled in the 2018-2019 academic year. The figures have dropped significantly from 75,523 children to 36,720 students, indicating a 51% drop on the enrollment register. Research have also proven that more youths are involved in unwanted pregnancy as a result of dropping out of school. This situation has been worsened by the socio-political unrest affecting the Southwest region. Further investigations proves that 328 primary schools have closed their doors in the Southwest region. These statistics were delivered by the Divisional Delegate of Basic Education for FACO, Nkulungene, during the back-to-school awareness campaign organized by the FACO Permanent Delegation of the CPDM Central Committee, spearheaded by Honorable Emilia Monjoa Lifaka, Vice President of the National Assembly and head of the Central Committee Delegation to FACO Division. The conference hall of the Limbe City Council Down Beach was flooded with people, students, teachers, parents, militants, sympathizers of the CPDM party to support the back-to-school campaign of the government. The event witnessed several presentations from different speakers drawn from a cross-section of local, administrative, political and traditional authorities. The chiefs of FACO, through the voice of their president, Chief Ndike Kombe Richard, called on parents, guardians and stakeholders in the educational sector to open the doors for children to come in come September 2nd. He prayed God to make a way where there seems to be no way. To accompany the back-to-school package, each child went home with a bag, books, pens, pencils, rulers, with a supposed envelope of 4,000 francs CFA. On his part, the Senior Divisional Officer for FACO, Emmanuel Engamba Ledu, called on the various stakeholders to carry the awareness campaign to their various subdivisions, municipalities, villages, quarters and homes. He promised the support of FACO administration to institutions and establishments to ensure a hitch-free back-to-school 2019-2020 academic year. The massive campaign exercise was punctuated with cultural animation from a cross-section of youth and socio-cultural groups drawn from Limbe municipality. From the coastline of Nyangonamuna to the mountaintop of Evazamoto, all the living forces in FACO division have joined their voices with others nationwide to call for a zero tolerance on the right to educate a child as they join the nation in the awareness campaign.
17 Chinese and Ukrainian seamen have been reportedly abducted off the coast of Cameroon by armed men on Thursday. According to sources, the sailors were on board a vessel at the Gulf of Guinea when the pirates attacked them. According to the International Maritime Bureau, piracy has become rampant in the Gulf of Guinea, located in the northeasternmost part of the tropical Atlantic Ocean, as 62 seafarers were taken hostage in the first half of 2019. On July 10, Turkey sailors were kidnapped from the Gulf of Guinea while sailing from Douala to Abidjan, Ivory Coast. The population of Mbasi 2 in Batoke village have begun working on community projects for the supply of potable drinking water to the communities of Mbasi 1 and Mbasi 2. Kuma Honore reports from the Southwest region.
The population of Mbase 2, a quarter in Batoke village, came out massively to assist the Water Management Committee to supply pipe-borne water to the neighborhoods of Mbase 1 and Mbase 2. Young and old, women and men, children and parents answered present for the community work organized by the Batoke Water Management Committee. The Water Management Committee has been very instrumental in the regulation, management and maintenance of potable drinking water, with the Njike stream being the lone source of potable water supply to the increasing population. The inhabitants of this community has taken a participatory approach by contributing the sum of 3 million francs CFA to support the water expansion project to Mbase 1 and to Batoke new layout. The inhabitants came out in their number during the routine Monday's community work to dig 1,366 meters for water to be tapped from the catchment site to supply the surrounding environs of Mbase 1 and 2. The extension of the water supply in Batoke village is coming as a follow-up of a promise made by the royal man of Central Africa, Chief Otto Mulungu Molive, in a ceremony of New Year wishes presented to him in his palace.
This project has costed the village more than 5 million. If you can see the pipes, we are using pipe 90, where we estimated close to 300 pipes, which will take us from where you saw the river right down to Mbase 2, and this water, as we said, will move to the new layout.
Okay. Chief Otto Mulungu took the population on a surprise during a field visit to the expansion site to encourage his community. He was accompanied by the chairman of the Water Management Committee, Leon Sule, the chairman of the Traditional Council, who doubles as the project manager, Raphael Mbela, and other members of the village Traditional Council. Chief Otto was very impressed with the level of progress of work on the site.
Population of the Mbase 2 quarter is sat with their sense of belonging, their sense of being good Cameroonians, their sense of being good citizens of Batoke community. That is just what the Mbase 2 people did. Presented a package as per the estimates from the feasibility studies, and which the chief as a father saw it and he was so happy, and he had to run it up to make sure the project be realized.
The expansion project is expected to be completed in a fortnight. The chief is thankful to everybody who has shown a sense of patriotism in supporting the project morally and financially.
The Akwaya Hospital in Manyo Division, Southwest region of Cameroon, has been moved from the present site, situated some 300 meters from the Gendarmerie Brigade, to the Akwaya Government High School, situated some 600 meters away from the Gendarmerie Brigade. This relocation was as a result of a recent gun battle between the Anglophone militias and security forces, which led to the partial burning of the hospital. With that, we end today's edition of Prime News, but before we go, a recap of our main stories. 17 Chinese and Ukrainian seamen have been abducted off the coast of Cameroon by armed men. Presbyterian Teachers Trade Union have held a broad-based executive meeting in Bamenda to brainstorm on their plight and issues concerning back-to-school resumption come the 2019-2020 school year. The news was produced by Ewane Eli, coordinated by Lasha Kingsley. My name is Genda Pelgin Blanche King. Thanks for watching. Join us on Monday at 7:45 for another edition of Prime News on My Media Prime. Meantime, the second part of Prime Hour continues with Kum Leonard and his panelists. Good night and happy weekend.
Welcome back. You're watching Prime on my media Prime. We want to say thank you to you too, Perrin Blanche, for that wonderful presentation. We continue with our discussions out here in the studios. Let me take some two, three messages before we continue. Good evening to you there, Mr. Kum. I love your programs. It's Esson Daphne from Kumba Mabe School. It's Ita College in Kumba, because from one we make notes ourselves while the teachers only lecture us. God bless you all. Thank you. Good evening to you all, my dear brothers in the panel. Let's stop making mockery to ourselves on the issue called dialogue to pamper some diehard egos who have the knife and cake in their hands and find it adamant to make peace reign. Moreover, the Humanitarian Commission is not making effort but worsening situation. What a shame. To strategies put in place so far. Isidore is writing from Yaoundé, Cameroon's capital. Good evening, sirs. Please, can you some explain to me the difference between a crisis and a war? I am confused. I'm very sorry that intercommunity dialogue can't stop the Anglophone war, and except a genuine dialogue is organized to end the war by President Paul Biya, there will not be an effective school resumption in the English regions. No need bribing and intimidating parents who know the importance of education to send their kids to school. Shame. Edmond Kimbi is writing from Limbe. Good evening, Leo. Please, we have to admit that this Francophone-Anglophone issue is strongly rooted in cultural differences. The Anglophone has a very welcoming culture in which you are your neighbor's keeper, while we, the Francophones, it is any man for himself. Nobody cares what happens with the next person. So, others are not bothering themselves with the crisis in the Anglophone regions. Is not supposed to be strange. Calling the Anglophones dogs, 2 cubes of sugars, etc. In government is a proof. Form of gathering by the people of the East or other Francophone regions is just propaganda. Leo, after 3 years, the expectations have been cut off. Besides looking at such gesture critically, I see another government strategy trying to blindfold the world that Cameroon is one. This is fake. We expected such gesture in 2016, not now. Tiku Felix is writing from Sandpit in Boya. Now I took the mic from you, Walang. Kikishi Kenneth, should this intercommunity dialogue be championed by traditional authorities, because they are the custodians of our land? Should they champion this, or they've lost it all?
If the essence of intercommunity dialogue is actually to unify Cameroon, the people who we champion it should be people who have trust from the populations. There are a lot of chiefs of traditional rulers who are in a kind of deadlock with their own kinsmen and women for 1 or 2 violations of their own rights. So the persons that are supposed to champions are supposed to be people with high leadership qualities, people that are known for their humility, people that are serviceable. We understand that, like we were saying before we went on break, a lot of politicians or elites would fight to use this opportunity to bargain their political stance, and it is going to mar the objectives of the intercommunity dialogue. So I would like to see a situation where a mother of a belligerent, instead of locking her, she is put to champion the dialogue. Because a lot of people have been indexed, and it has become like if your son is an amber war fighter, you too, the whole of your family is indexed as being, a supporter. So it is now the time for government to allow a kind of holistic approach whereby even amber fighters can be put on the table and dialogue on camera without necessarily bringing military guys to arrest them. That is the kind of dialogue that we are talking about. And we know that this is window dressing because the government cannot allow such to happen. We know that the government is not ready for dialogue because when you are ready for dialogue, you will not arrest the mother of a certain belligerent and lock him up, or lock her up with the rest of the family.
Yeah,
but rather you use them as, you will showcase to the world that you are using leaving no stone unturned for dialogue, and so use instead those mothers to find out how they can transform their children who are recalcitrant or extremists into loyal citizens. So it is time for the government. You see, all this we are talking because we are actually applauding the initiative of those who have started the inter-community dialogue. But we are saying that government has bad faith as usual, and so these people will the stumbling block will still be the same government that is playing drama game that they are into dialogue. What I'm saying, struggling to say here is that when the government shall be ready for dialogue, it will not sit on any platform to debate about. You will see it. It will be clear.
Okay, we'll see
there will be a ceasefire that will be called by government. The ceasefire that will be called by government will be the start of an indication that they are ready for dialogue.
Permit me, but I am of the opinion that when somebody does something which is correct, we should give him or we should give them credit for that. I want to differ a little with Mr. Kikishi, who's done a wonderful presentation, but it should be noted that there are so many people in the diaspora out there whose families are who are championing the cause of the Anglophone, problem, who are even sponsoring the separatist fighters, whose family members are still here in Cameroon. I remember that as far back as 2017, the government wanted to embark on a kind of policy where they would get to the family, get the family members to kind of, influence or, affect the thinking. But they were advised to stop that, and they have stopped it, and they are respecting it till today. Because I have made such proclamations in many instances that if the government had been such a repressive government as we claim, I'm criticizing the government for other things, but if they had been such a repressive government as we claim, they would have used, this policy of getting at the families of these people who are promoting the crisis in the northwest and the southwest in Cameroon, to kind of do some kind of forceful leverage so that they get these people to stop doing what they are doing. I think we should give government also credit for that.
Okay. Now, what we are witnessing today, we are living today, complete divide, complete split in our community, traditional, ethnic, regional divide. We are living along this divide. Is this also a failure on the part of the civil society that has failed over the years to unite Cameroonians, bring them on the board, to be discussing amongst themselves, to be able to prevent what we are living today? Has the civil society failed in that role in the years that have passed?
Yeah.
Because seemingly every civil society was interested in doing HIV campaign, doing environmental stuff, things that had money, but very little attention was given to the true meaning of living together.
Yeah, little was given in that in years past, and little was still given in the domain of bringing Cameroonians closer to God, and then those things contributed to the problems we are facing today. And then many civil society groups were just for money making, as I can say, because you see them coming up, and then they are just like industry. They'll find, you see them coming up, and then you see somebody maybe resign from work just because of a non-governmental organization that he created, and then you discover that he's gaining a lot from there. And then we focus a lot in fighting things that are not important, and then not preaching peace. Because I quite remember I've been hearing on this forum, a lot of people have been talking about how we can bring about peace and togetherness. You build it up. It's not something that you get up one day and just say, we have to do it this way. So I will blame the civil society just a little, because they have been doing a little in some domains, but they have forgotten in such a way that a civil society have a certain right that they can do certain things. But civil societies in Cameroon, they depend on the government. Maybe they put this thing, they have to say, a government have to say this before. The proposal I was talking about from the beginning, I came up with, was like a forceful people coming together, a civil society coming together to forcefully call for a dialogue without asking for permission from anybody. Because I made mention of these are two elephants fighting, the government and the Anglophones. And then you will not stand and say you are depending on the government to call for dialogue. That is a fighter. And then two people cannot be fighting, and you are asking one amongst the two people fighting to come up with a proposal how the fighting will stop. That my proposal was that if Cameroon, as he rightly said that if credible Cameroonian, trustworthy Cameroonian, those who have passion for the people can join themselves together, that you are coming for.
Like what Redac is doing now.
Yeah, like they are doing. Because in my writing in April 2000, on May 20, 2018, I gave a copy of it to the Cardinal to me. I gave a copy to the Prophet Apostle John Chi. I gave a copy to the Baptist Church, and then I gave a copy to Equinox TV, and then I was stopped. And on the day the All Anglophone Conference came about, because it was in line with my idea. But the mistake that they make was that they wanted people to come and join them, not then searching for those trustworthy people, those that can do it, and then waiting for people to come and waiting for the government to give you authorization, maybe to call for this, to wait for the government. It can never be, because the government is a fighter. I'm saying that the civil society, we have to come together. Civil society has to come together and then take it by force. Take it by force. It is our country. People are dying, and then the government nothing. It disturbs them in no way, and then they continue with it. You see all their strategy. They are now building camps in Kumba, military camps, and then all the money. What take us, the government, to stop this war? What will take the Amazonia to stop this war would not cost a franc. It's just to say let there be ceasefire, and then that will be all. All the money spent moving around, distributing, governor moving from this region is using military car. Military cannot solve this problem. We have to come together, bring people, bring men of God inside, because we have faith. We are far away from God. And that if you read the history of the children of Israel, you discover, you put it in line with Cameroon in life. You discover that Cameroon is different from the children of Israel. When you sin, God punish you. And when God was punishing them, they keep on looking up to God. And each time they will look up to God in the book of Jesus, God will provide them a helper. And then we Cameroonians, we keep on praying. Somebody will keep it in church. I've done 2 days fasting, 3 days fasting. And then in your fasting, you are supporting one side, either the government or the Amazonia. And then you say God should answer your prayer. We have to sincere repentance. Cameroonian and civil society have to champion this. The churches have to champion this. And then Cameroon will go out of this situation.
Many Cameroonians, especially politicians, don't understand what peace process is all about. This, I think, can be effective when tribalism, favoritism, and your message is not complete. There is no way fighting will be in Kumbo land and money making people go and holding talks to quench it in Bamenda. So the Intercommunity Dialogue Forum in Douala is just a fruitless one. Let them go organize it where the problem is. Douala has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with the crisis. I'm Lazar from Bamenda. Thanks, my media prime. Lazar, Central African Republicans who were fighting went to Sudan to discuss. So we've seen people moving out of there. Good evening, I'm Chef Emmanuel, writing from Yaoundé. We should forget about intercommunities dialogue and solve the Anglophone problem. Wish you guys the best. My best school is GBHS Kumbo. Evening to you all. My problem is that the President Biya is not out for dialogue. Why I say so? He signed a decree yesterday instructing the Minister of Defense to ensure tight security in these two regions by sending military in these two regions. Only the way his private boys bees are entering Cape Town, one is scared. Moto is writing from Cape Town. I'm Priscilla from Caterpillar, Limbe. My best school was Much Kombone Mission. Okay, I am in Bamenda and my best school is Technical High School, but I have not seen class for 2 years. We pray you go to school soonest. This one says, good evening to you. I'm Emeline from Bamenda. What a disgrace to the government that they don't have conscience at all. My best school is GHS Mbinon. Good evening. My best school is GHS Nkamlikum. Carl is writing from Kumba. I am Michael Futalewung Ta, and my best school is Cast Bambili. My name is Pierre Victorine. Good evening to you all. My best school is Biaka University, Boya. Okay. Good evening to you all. My best school is GBHS Bamenda. It's Courage, writing from Bamenda. Good evening to you all. My name is Tem Dave. My best school is GTHS Moliko Boya. Walang, do you actually buy what he said, faulting the civil society? Kikishi, you have also been very involved in civil society activities. They did not foresee the need to conscientize Cameroonians on the possibility to find themselves in where we are today.
Yes, I think that you know, a greater part of the society of Cameroon has failed to you know, contribute their little toll to get Cameroonians to really live together, to accept the fact that communities can come together to better the you know, lot of Cameroonians. I remember I attended I was co-host or co-speaker with the famous Professor Zengwa of the University of Yaoundé, you know, in one leadership seminar where we spoke about leadership and nations building. You know, after asserting that the civil society plays a part also, you know, we cannot undermine that. But Professor Zengwa said something very, very technical on that day. He said that nation building is a political will. And in a country where the political will is not there, they will make all sorts of speeches and you will see the result. You know, the fruits cannot fool us. From the fruits, we will know that the plant was either bad or it was good. These are the words of, you know, it isn't word verbatim, but this is approximately what Zingwa said. To say that even though there are other stakeholders in bringing communities together, the omnipotent or close to omnipotent, you know, stakeholder is the government of the country. And trust me, the government of the country is fighting in such a way that, or is acting in such a way that they want people to be loyal to them. You know, to the government of Cameroon. When you are not loyal to them, then you are not a good citizen of Cameroon. But I want to make it abundantly clear. You're not patriotic. I want to make it abundantly clear that there is a difference between patriotism and loyalty to the system. Those in the CPDM could be loyal to the CPDM. Today, when people sit and criticize the government for what they are saying, a minister of territorial administration goes and says that these people are trying to destroy Cameroon. There's so much cherished national unity. No, there is a difference between the loyalty to the government and patriotism. Okay. Patriotism, please. Patriotism is loyalty to the country, no matter who is governing. And there's a government that is governing that can become unpopular thanks to their actions.
Okay. Most of these projects are financed by, this one is co-financed by the European Union. You understand that even the problems plaguing Cameroon have been discussed at the level of the US Senate, Congress, the UK House of Commons, and a host of others. How do we explain the fact that funds are being pumped into the country to fix our issues when we have organizations, we have very big institutions in Cameroon that cannot give out money to promote ventures like this?
Well,
is it that the foreigner is more interested in our affairs than us?
No. It is...
we don't have money.
There's capitalism, the politics of capitalism. I had a Cameroon sign with the Bretton Woods institutions within the crisis, several billions to be pumped into the system. A system whose crises are coming from bad governance. And so you will not even be surprised that if they can pump several billions into a system that has failed to be accountable even to those institutions, you would not also be surprised that this project should be financed by the European Union. By implication, they have some interest, and when the country is at war, it's going to stop them from reaping to the fullest from the nation. Going by the last question that you asked on the role of the civil society in the face of this crisis.
You are a very active member. You've been an active member for more than 20 years now?
Sure.
Okay.
For several years now, I've been an active civil society member. And I remember when this crisis started, you equally asked this question on another platform about the role of the civil society. You were trying to decry the absence of the civil society. And I told you that the divide and rule that the government has played, even in political parties, has also touched the civil society and reduced their bargaining power. Let me tell you that the civil society foresaw Cameroon being to the state where it is. When the anti-terrorism law was put in place, civil society activists took to the streets in Yaoundé. I was part of them. We traveled from Buea and we met a stage because Parliament was voted it into a bill and law, and we saw the beginning of real dictatorship. So now it paved the way now for civil society to be silent. You know, anything that you want to go on the street, you need authorization.
Why did you have to wait until things are getting bad?
No, things are getting bad. Now, imagine a situation where the civil society was even clamoring for, they say religious knowledge in the Anglophone system is not recognized by the government in concourse. And the civil society said, no, a moral, an instrument of moral, value, and it means that you are actually saying that we are,
Mr. Kenneth.
So what I'm actually saying is that the civil society has been very active, even though there's.
Seemingly, you want to defend yourself.
No, I'm not defending. I was
of the 20, 50 civil society organizations that I know in Cameroon, tell me 20 of them or 30 of them who have been very active in the field of conscientization on politics, living together, education.
Okay.
Most of them are into health.
No.
Those things that give money. That is what I'm saying.
Giving a source of livelihood, giving a source of livelihood to a people is helping them to live happily. And because once you are hungry, you cannot live even happily with your neighbor.
Are you different from the person who eats today and forgets tomorrow?
No. What I'm trying to say is, what I want to say I just need you give me a few seconds to expatiate on what I'm saying. The civil society, there's no civil society without activism. The civil society is truly, if it is about executing projects, and without doing advocacy, then it is not a civil society. But remember that the crisis came about because two civil societies, the Teachers' Trade Union is a civil society organization that came on to say that no, the system of education is something to be modified. Or the lawyers came about, those are civil society organizations. I don't know where and even the media is also a civil society. What we are doing here is advocacy for change. So I think that the civil society is not only about NGOs, but other groups.
Which political party do you belong? I don't know whether I'm understanding myself or Kenneth is not getting what I'm saying.
No, I
think it is clear. It is clear that in Cameroon, most of the civil society organizations are geared towards making money. It is very clear, And but there is something that he said.
Oh, you came from Mars yesterday, Kenneth. You came from the planet Mars yesterday.
There is something that he said that is also technical.
Yes.
The issue of divide and rule. The government of Cameroon has created civil society. We should not forget that also. Created civil society organization. Out of the more than 100 civil societies, the government has about a quarter or more. Which play the role of distraction. They want to distract public opinion. But that doesn't cancel the fact that, this issue of living together, the failure of, intercommunity, whatever, you understand, in Cameroon has happened partly because the civil society has failed to assume its responsibility. Because it's not only the government. Let us not make a mistake. The government is just the pace setter. But the people who have to carry the project,
Like he was saying that the government is a party.
The government is a party, pace setter.
The separatists are a party.
Yes.
Now the civil society have to force them.
Exactly. So the people who have to carry it from down there, you know, it is the communities, it is the civil society, it is the religious communities also, because the religious community is a very powerful, let us remember that the religious community is a very powerful one too, even more powerful than the civil society, because they deal with aspects of belief, elements of, you know, faith. And since people have this faith in God, it is easy to tell them that, you know, let's come together and then make things like peace possible, like living together possible. But they have failed woefully too. It is not only the government. If we sit and, you know, pinpoint the government or place the hand only on the finger only on the government, it is because we think that the government has to initiate this so that it trickles down to there. But there, the people who are down there, the religious authorities, the civil society organizations, and other associations, even the media, has to play an important role in galvanizing this energy of living together, so that communities come together and understand, and then pave the way for peace, sustainable peace in the country.
Good evening, my media prime. My best school is GHS Binon Noni. Maimo Lazarus watching live from Binon, Jolum. I don't know where that's part of Cameroon. Is good evening to you all in the studio, and my name is Brenda, watching from Kumba. And my best school is Kas Kumba. Thank you, Brenda. My best school is GHS Tinto, always having good principals and DMs. Daniel, writing from Kumba. Good evening to you in the studio. I'm Tanto Rogasien. My best school is GBHS Misaje, even though it has been closed down. Nice program. Thank you very much. Sorry, sir, the government harassed and locked up the mother of Chris Arno, who is above 80 years of age, the communication secretary of the Ambazonian Republic. So the government deserves no credit, Mr. Wala. Okay.
She was released.
Good evening to you, sir. My best school is GBHS Fundong because of the well-experienced teachers and the disciplined nature of her students, coupled with the fact that the school has a multimedia center that facilitates learning. Ngong NS Song, writing from K-Town. Good evening to you. Good evening to you all in the studio. My best school is Cass Bambili from Kum Michael, watching also from Kumba. We go back to the newsroom to follow the press in the press.
Greetings, good people. It's always a pleasure to know you are watching Prime Hour on My Media Prime. On what is making news today in Cameroon, the power outage in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé, will surely constitute the biggest package on today's in the press on Prime Hour. We begin with the lone English daily, The Guardian Post. Forced by dwindling popularity in Boya, Honorable Lifaka takes back to school campaign launch to Limbe, writes The Guardian Post. Lifaka criticized for betraying Atanganji over 15 million school resumption package. The paper also reports that over 91% of victims of the Ezeka train accident have been compensated by Camrail. As the government pressures Eneo to Yaoundé electricity crisis, Le Pervier newspaper questions if Eneo is not being used by enemies of state to destabilize the government of President Paul Biya. While Le Jour newspaper is interested this day in the letter written to Relations and Cameroonians by André Tene, a retired teacher arrested in Bafoussam on January 26, 2019. André Tene, the testimony of presidential prisoner, the paper headlines. Le Jour reports that workers of Paul Biya Stadium at Olembe in Yaoundé still on rampage. Le Messager on its part took interest in the armed groups terrorizing the population of the far north, northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon, as well as the border of Cameroon with Central African Republic, with the youth being at the center of the organized crimes. Mutation is not indifferent to the problems of potable water and power outages in Cameroon. The paper says the recurrent blackout of electricity and shortage in supply of potable water have exposed the weaknesses of the government of Cameroon and its inability to cater for its citizens. While La Réalité questions if former presidential candidate Abra Libi has not gotten the founder of the Univers Party, Kou Vondo, mad. These duo have been involved in a war of words recently. We end with the National Bilingual Daily Cameroon Tribune, which also focuses on power cuts in Yaoundé. According to the paper, some measures have been taken by the government of Cameroon to address the problem, like acquisition of new equipment, channeling energy to sensitive areas like hospitals, water distribution sites, amongst others. These measures were announced in a joint press conference Wednesday in Yaoundé.